Did I hit it? Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's me, Colin, Project Constitution. And today I have a wonderful guest with me, Kelvia Campbell. She is the ex Turning Point Action employee that was fired, the only Turning Point Action employee that was fired in that mass wave of firings a while back. But she is going to join me tonight, and we are going to react to Erika's brand new speech that she just gave today at the Turning Point Educators Summit in Illinois. Around near Chicago, Charlie's hometown, and a lot of interesting things she said. She's definitely trying to crowd seed, trying to put information into the crowd that she wants people to believe, and trying to set a narrative basically. But we're going to get into all that. We're going to watch it, and yeah. So how you doing today, Kelvia? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Glad to be here again. Glad to be here. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I think it's one of her best interviews yet. I think they're getting their system down, their equation down. Like I said, maybe they're calibrated. They're almost calibrated to the balance of just enough of this, just enough of an explanation. They definitely been watching Candace. I'll say that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And as much as I don't like Erika, I will say that this speech, this is definitely her best speech by far as like not doing too much weird shit. Like there was still a little bit of weird shit, like eyes and stuff, but for the most part, she acted like a normal human being in this speech. So I will point.
That's what I'm saying. She's definitely coming into her character. Yeah. Definitely. Like I said,
it's
they've
about
almost got
time,
it down.
honestly. Yeah. But I thought it was, I don't know about you, but I thought it was very interesting, because a lot of stuff she said, she was, one of the big takeaways that you and me both talked about is it was everything she said seemed to be very scripted and very intentional. Like, they were intentionally putting this information out in response to something, either in response to the stuff that we've been talking about or to get ahead of a narrative, something they know is coming down the pike.
That was something interesting that I had mentioned to you. Like she was planting seeds.
Yep.
I mean, I don't no spoiler alert, but you know what I'm referring to when I'm talking about, like talking about twisting history a little bit, maybe. And I was like, hey, you're planning. I see what you're doing. You're thinking ahead.
She knows it's coming.
And
man.
I like,
we'll get, I don't want to spoil it either, but she knows it's coming. The writing's on the wall.
You know what she started doing? She's using that tactic where it's like, I'm going to make fun of myself before you make fun of me. You know what I mean? Like self-deprecating humor. She's like, I've done that before. I'm going to make fun of myself before you make fun of me.
Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good tactic. I mean, that's something I use. Like people, like they call me Cartman. They say I look like Cartman all the time and stuff. I lean into it. I don't care. I made a second channel called Cartman Reacts, and I made a little, my avatar looking like a big fat Cartman dude, with the beanie and stuff. Like,
I saw that.
I lean into it. There's nothing they could say to me that really going to hurt me or get under my skin. I like it. I joke around with it too. I think it's funny. And that's the thing. If you can't let people get to you. You have to you have to just kind of lean into it. You can't take things too seriously.
No, you can. And it's kind of like you brought up with the Drewski thing. She was quick to forgive the person who unalived her husband, but, Drewski, like, just playing dress up, that's when she got really like pissed.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, I mean, we'll get into it more as we go. But yeah, I mean that part especially very telling, because she talks. One of the things she talks about in it is how she came about forgiving Tyler Robinson, how that came about and how that part came about in the speech or whatever, and she talked about that process. And to me, it was just all bullshit. She like, one of the big takeaways for me is like, it's very easy to forgive someone if you know they're innocent. And I think we see it with the seeding of information. I think she knows that, and I think there's a reason she's doing that. And yeah, so.
Yep. No, I think Blakey. I think Blakey Blake. I think he's given her some pointers.
Oh, she's not writing her own speeches for sure. Guarantee it.
No,
He's writing her speeches.
No, and I don't know why, but well, I was proud. She did like I think one of the biggest culprits and why she's come off as so suspicious is because, the internet's kind of been wiped of her past quite a bit, but she also hasn't really said a lot of stuff about herself, but she said a Spark Notes version. She did a Spark Note version of like a timeline of her life. So we already knew it though. I think we already knew all the details, but.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, and a lot of the stuff, like there were things that she was clearly lying about. There's stuff I could put up, that she was saying that I was like, no, that's not true. We know that's not true.
Well, we know she like, how she emulates people.
Yep.
How there was one part where she's like, she's doing the Blake hands and this is what he does. He'll make a point and then logic, harmless, like logic. So she was like, yeah, I haven't talked about myself for the past 9 months intentionally because, well, I didn't see a need to. Like, that's exactly how he talks. Like, well,
yep.
We didn't release the video. Well, we didn't release the video simply because we knew the trollers would think it was fake anyway. That's how he reasons things.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually, it's fun to watch, but it also aggravates us at the same time because they won't answer that critical information that we need,
No, like the whole like, and yes, it was. She's like, I was at Miss Arizona, and yes, it was Trump's pageant. Like, she's confirming that, but it's useless information. Like, we already know that and more.
She didn't confirm anything important. That's the thing, is she didn't really confirm. Well, I won't say that. There's a couple things that were very important that she did confirm, which kind of raised hair. Not raise hairs. Let me say that. I don't mean that. Take that back. But definitely raised my eyebrows. Like, what? We heard something different. So what's really going on here? Like about about the kids and Charlie's parents. Like, she talked about that at the beginning, and yeah, I was just like, But yeah, so there's I wish she would address. She is going to start talking about herself and and about what's. I really wish she would address the things that we've brought up, the important stuff. Not just random crap that nobody cares about. Like, yes, I was Miss Arizona. Yes, I did go to ASU. Yes, I did go to Regency.
Yeah, that's a kind of a legal tactic. I'm not saying that lawyers are coaching her. I mean, I wouldn't know that for sure, but
Frank
lawyers
Carney
coach people like that. Huh?
I said, shout out Frank Carney. Shout out to Frank Carney.
My favorite. That's my homie. But yeah, no, I noticed that that's a legal tactic. You coach your client to like confirm things. It's like, if someone accused me of like murdering somebody, it's like, yeah, I was at Walmart that day where it happened. Yeah, I was there, but that's all you say. I was there, or yeah, I was wearing a red shirt. It's just it's kind of just useless information. It's just skimming the top. It's bullet points.
Exactly. For example, she brought up New York, because a lot of questions swirling about her time in New York and ties to Epstein and all that stuff. She didn't bring any of that up at all. She did bring up New York, But all she did in the context of New York would just say basically, yeah, I was in New York, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just basic thing. You know, my hair's black, you know, I'm wearing a pink shirt. That's basically the much it amounts to. Oh.
Yep. Yep. You got a fan here.
I think that's Kevin from Kentucky. Hey. You ready to play this?
Thanks for joining us, Kevin. Yep, let's rock and roll. All right, let me pull it up. Oop, that's not the right one. Hold on. There we go. That's the one. All right. I guess I'll just go through your bullet points rather than trying to watch the whole thing because it is long. All right, so 850 is the first one, and this is where I'll start like a little bit before.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, I'd start like at 8 or something, just so we get a little bit going.
Yeah, whatever your timestamp is, I'll start a little bit before that just to give us a little more context.
I'm liking the olive suit, the natural look.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't go with a bright glittering pantsuit this time and fireworks for her entrance. I'm glad she toned it down a little bit.
Yeah, this is way more modest, and she has the natural makeup. She does have the NFL bling. She's got the NFL bling on, but everything. Yeah. I mean, she looks good. She looks good. Her looks is not what the problem is, Colin.
No, not at all. Not at all.
The looks are not the issue we have.
Yeah, that's the least. I mean, yeah, she got looks problems too, but that's the least of the worries for sure. Okay, so this part here, basically, she is talking about, one bullet or whatever. So about their, Charlie being killed with one bullet. So we're going to play this and then we're going to get into it.
But there's no blueprint. So I am just relying so heavily on the Lord to just guide me on how to raise my babies through this and just really trusting in that. And it's going to take a village. And I want them to just have prayers for their heart, because I don't know how it'll manifest in them when they get older. I do know that they will be walking with the Lord, and I do know that it's the little moments, like a father-daughter dance, or like my daughter not being able to have her.
Yeah, she's going. Wait, hold on, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm going to slow it down a little bit because, it's important to get, she's going a little too fast, and it's important to get her mannerisms and how she talks, because I think that's all very important.
Yeah, we'll hit the highlights, and we'll make sure you can see everything.
Yep.
Just have prayers for their heart, because I don't know how it'll manifest in them when they get older. I do know that they will be walking with the Lord, and I do know that it's the little moments, like a father-daughter dance, or like my daughter not being able to have her father walk her down the aisle. Those little moments that I just pray for. Or like Charlie teaching my son how to throw a football. It's like little things like.
Actually, I want to go back a little bit on this, because this is actually an important clip. This clip here, it's where she's talking about, because this, let me see if I can find my version of it, because because she talks, this is where she talks about meeting Charlie's parents and stuff. So this is definitely an important part.
Oh, okay.
So I'll share my X instead where I cut it. Okay, so let's try that again. Let me full screen. Okay. I'm just sharing it. Yep. Okay, here we go.
Chicago will always have a special place in my heart, and you know that. And so I was able to bring the babies with me this trip to see Charlie's parents and his sister and have them play in the front yard. They were actually playing baseball last night in the front yard. It was really sweet. It was really, really sweet. So, thank you.
Well, I know this area, of course, is so significant for you, for Charlie, growing up in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you know this, but everyone else may not know this, is that Lincolnshire, which is where we are, was actually the second headquarters of Turning Point.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie, many of you have seen the pictures of Charlie with the garage down in Lamont, which has been preserved, by the way, and so you can still go see the garage. I was talking to the man that owns that, and he said that the photocopier is still in there that Charlie used in the phone. And
all good startups come from a garage.
That's right.
Chicago will always have a special place.
Okay, so that was the first one.
Do you believe that she actually like went over to their house and chummy?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the part that confuses me, because we know that, their relationship has been on the rocks. There's definitely a rift between Charlie's parents and Erika. I mean, and that's a fact. That's not any of us just thinking that. We know that for a fact because Charlie's parents actually challenged Erika within a couple days after Charlie's death. She filed to trademark Charlie Kirk's name and likeness, that way she can grift off of it some more. And Charlie's parents immediately filed a challenge to that. So there's actually a battle going on in the courts, over that. So they're at odds. It's factually they are at odds. There's a rift there. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's concerning.
That's what I was thinking, and I was like, and that must. I would think that'd be a tenuous visit.
I agree, and also not only that, but. I've also heard from other people that know the family that Charlie's parents do not like Erika. And I also, heard Charlie's sister has even spoken out previously and said that Charlie had told her before he died that what Charlie said to her was that Erika is not the woman I married. She's totally different than the woman I married. That they were having problems, marital problems. That was like the first red flag for me that something was not right. So
I've never seen any pictures. I've never seen any pictures of her and his family or all of them together. Have you?
I've seen pictures of them, but they're very private. They're not. It's not like they're not public figures. They're not all over the internet. They did go to Charlie, when Charlie, got the Medal of Honor or whatever that Trump gave him posthumously or whatever. They were there, but they weren't on stage with Erika receiving it and stuff because they don't want the attention. They don't want the limelight. They're very private people. And that's kind of why nobody on our side has approached them or bothered them, because they're grieving. They're going through their own bullshit. They just lost their son. They have to deal with this nasty witch of a woman that he married. And I feel bad for them. So none of us have bothered them personally because of that. If you're talking about somebody who's really grieving, they're really grieving.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. And another thing
I can't imagine.
A lot of us. Go ahead.
I can't imagine watching all this unfold.
Yeah. I know. I would love to. Honestly, like I said, I don't want to. None of us will bother them. It's definitely not the right time or right thing to do. But I would love to actually sit down with them and know their true thoughts and whether Charlie had confessed or confided anything in them about Erika.
Right.
Because your parents are normally like one of the closest people to you. Like I'm sure Charlie probably told. I know he wasn't close to his dad, but he was real close to his mom. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he probably told his mom everything. Like she probably knew everything.
Or his sister. It sounds like him and his sister were close.
Yeah, although his sister is big time left, big time liberal. She's a Bernie bro.
Oh, wow.
which I think is hilarious. Yeah.
That's probably where Charlie gets that whole, like, I'm going to love you regardless of like where you stand. Like, we may disagree, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe more
Yeah.
accepting.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's a good thing. I try to be the same way as well. I don't, I can have, like, there's some people that if you're on the right, you cannot have a friend on the left. Like, you completely disassociate with everybody that you have. I'm not like that. I can still be friends with people and vehemently disagree on things with them politically. That's like people that can't do that, really, that shows me that they do not have, they don't have the reasoning skills that it takes to see the nuance in life. They don't have critical thinking skills. They're basically just followers, just, blindly following whatever they're told.
Right. And I tell people, like, the people, I actually said something about, I made a post about this yesterday. The people that hate Candace and Tucker and stuff, I'm like, you're doing literally the exact opposite of what Charlie would have done or wanted. If you're just, you're hating them just because you don't agree with what they're doing or what they're saying, and someone's like, no, Tucker and Candace have just changed. I'm like, no, they've always asked questions. They've always evolved. They've always built on to their knowledge and research. And, you can change your opinion. You're free to change your opinion. And, Charlie obviously, was apt to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie was changing his opinions, like on Israel and stuff. I was changing my opinions as well. Like when Charlie died, my opinions on Israel changed quite a bit. My opinions on Trump changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's called evolving. You don't just keep backing. I don't know. I really don't get why they do it, but like, Barron pointed out, he'd made a tweet that I saw. I don't know if it was yesterday or whatever, but I saw it today. But he had found an old tweet, that Lisa knows nothing woman or whatever, that's like basically constantly simping for Erika. But she made a tweet like right after Charlie died. I think it was September 11th, the day after, where she's like, we can't trust the narrative. We've got to ask questions. We've got to ask questions and find out what really happened to him or whatever. Like, she didn't buy the story either right after he died. So what happened? All of a sudden, now she's just completely blindly simping for them. I mean, it's wild to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I try to find the demographic that's sticking up for Erika, and it's a lot of like middle-aged women or like young girls.
Boomers. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely boomers.
There's a lot of Bible Belt middle-aged women that are like winos and stuff. Very, very depressed or whatever in their life.
Yeah, and like the girls, like the young girls that go to like YWLS that wear like long denim skirts with a bun, they're definitely on board.
Yep, exactly. And then of course, they got Turning Point in particular, maybe not Erika so much, but Turning Point in particular, they definitely they cater to boomers, they pander to the boomers, the Fox News crowd.
But you should hear how they talk about boomers behind closed doors. If boomers knew the way they talked about them,
No, exactly. They see them as just dumb sheep, and that's why they target them. That's why they pander to them, because they are the easiest ones to control and to get them to believe their psyops.
Yeah, I remember before I left Turning Point Action, they started the Classic Americans Coalition, and that's for boomers. So boomers would get involved. But you said that they see dumb sheep when they see boomers. I think they see dollar signs.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. 100%. But you have to have the dumb sheep in order for them to, you have to fool them in order to get them to part with their money,
Yeah.
So that, I mean,
But
it's
yeah,
all
it's
part.
a lot of middle. But you know what I'm saying? It's the same people during the woke and trans movement, women and middle-aged women, boomers, younger women. It's the same people that it's an empathetic thing. Like a lot of women were for the transgender movement and for the gay stuff. You need to confirm their gender so they won't commit suicide. Stuff that tugs at women's hearts. And I notice Erika does that a lot in this video. She's like, like when you're a mom and your daughter's next to you and just, basic stuff. It's just like she's really trying to get to that mother crowd, which is smart, which is smart on her end. I mean, that's PR. That's PR coaching. I mean, you need to know your audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, smart, but it's not working now because we rewrite through it. All of us at home, like we can see right through it. We see that it's emotional blackmail that she's using. Like same thing with on Instagram, how she constantly is posting pictures of her kids and stuff on Instagram. That's all emotional blackmail.
Well, it's interesting, and then we can go on, but I just had an interesting thought. All the tactics they've used, the reason why it's not working is because Charlie kind of coached us on that type of stuff. Like, the left uses ad hominem attacks, or the left tries to get women to empathize with whatever narrative they're trying to push. And
exactly. That's exactly right. They're using, and that honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why it's so disgusting to people is they're using the same tactics that the left used that we all hated. They've basically are copying them and doing the same thing now.
Yeah, and the reason why we see through it is because of Charlie. Because he taught us how to profile and like how to read the left and what tactics they're using. So it's just the irony in that is funny to me that we were coached by Charlie and that's why none of this is working.
Exactly. Patty Cakes here said JD's book did not do her any favors. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you know about that, but JD wrote a book. And in his book, he says he credited him and Usha supposedly credited Erika Kirk for the reason that they had their last kid. I think their fourth child or whatever number kid they're on. But the reason why they just had their last kid supposedly because of Erika Kirk. Supposedly on the tarmac or whatever, like after Charlie was shot and they met him. Erika said something to her to where she was like, Erika said like, oh, I wish I had more than 2 kids with Charlie or something. And supposedly that inspired them to have their 4th kid.
You know what's hilarious about that? I actually made a joke and I said, what's sad about these people is I feel like JD Vance just knocked his wife up to debunk the rumors about him and Erika. And it's like, these people have the money to do that. Oh no, people are accusing me of having an affair with Erika Kirk. Let's get pregnant, because if we get pregnant, then, it'll show that we're stronger than ever. And I know that sounds like it's kind of reading into things, but that was my first thought when his wife got pregnant. Because it was shortly after the rumors.
No, I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I think there's some truth to it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that.
Yep. So Rosie says here, how do you know Erika Kirk and Charlie Kirk's parents are battling in court? Well, because if you go to the website for the U.S. Patents and Trademark Office or whatever, you can clearly see that she filed the patent, and you can see that there's a challenge in it from Charlie Kirk's parents.
Wow.
So that's how you can tell.
Now, what exactly is the patent for? Is it for freedom?
Trademark.
Is it for Charlie?
It's
for everything.
It's for Charlie Kirk, for the name Charlie Kirk. She thinks
Okay.
she's trying to trademark the name Charlie Kirk, so nobody, someone writes Charlie Kirk on anything, that they will have the rights to it. They can get paid for it, and they can, strike people like me down who write or report on Charlie Kirk. They want to use it as a way to silence people. I mean, that's the same reason they sent me a cease and desist for having Charlie on my logo, which I told him to go pound sand. He's a public figure. You can't, honestly, the parents challenged it anyway, so it's going to fail because of that. But even if they didn't challenge it, I think it would fail on its face regardless, because you can't trademark a public figure's name. It's just, you can't do that.
Yeah. And that's their name too. That Kirk is them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous.
But yeah, we'll see what else she has to say.
Yeah.
Place in my heart, and you know that. And so I was able to bring the babies with me this trip to see Charlie's parents and his sister and have them play in the front yard. They were actually
they're like, yay, finally.
Yep. Actually, that's
Yep, they're like, funny. And she said she actually got to bring the kids. She said she actually got to bring the kids with her. She doesn't bring them every time she goes to Illinois so she can see their grandparents.
Yeah, I know. That's what it honestly, and me. Well, I know she doesn't take them when she does all these road trips and stuff. She has two assistants. One of them usually travels with her. By the way, both of her assistants are her BFF Tracy Martin's daughters, which, like I said, and this is my opinion, but I believe that she groomed them, and that's why, that's why they're now with her all the time. But the one is goes with her and travels.
Isn't that the one assistant that her mother insisted she didn't go to 9/10? Didn't go to September 10th?
Yeah.
When Charlie was shot at UVU? They just had a feeling they shouldn't go. Okay, I figured that's who you're talking about.
Yeah. And then the other one is her same woman. It's her daughter as well. Both of them are her daughters. But the one travels with Erika and watches the kids anytime, like local. Like if Erika will take the kid, if she's in Phoenix, she will take the kids with her to the office there at Turning Point or whatever. But but like when she travels out of state, she doesn't take the kids with her. But the other assistant, which is the other Tracy Martin, she actually spilled the beans on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things she said on that podcast was that both her daughters are Erika's assistant, like I just said, and they are the ones that are raising Charlie's kids, her and Charlie's kids. So the other assistant is her nanny, is working as her nanny now, and is basically the one that takes care of Erika's kids whenever she's out traveling and running the country and everything.
Okay, well, yep, she's got a staff. She's got a unit there.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's sad. Like, honestly, like that's all I want, and that's all anybody else wants for her to do is to they just lost one parent. Why does she keep, if she's taught, and that's another thing she brings up later in the thing, is about having death threats and rape threats and all this stuff. Like, if she's really worried and concerned about all these threats, then why would she keep putting herself on the line and keep putting herself in danger? Especially when she's got young kids at home that just lost one parent already. God forbid if something did happen to her, what would they do to that kids? And they'd have to grow up with no parents now. I mean, she's thinking, she's very selfish. She's not thinking about herself. I mean, she's thinking more about herself and not about her kids. Most of us, if she would just step down from Turning Point and go home and raise her babies, we would not have a reason to talk about her. We would not have a reason to nitpick pick apart her every move, because she wouldn't be a public figure. She wouldn't be the CEO of a multi-$100 million organization that is subsidized by taxpayer money,
Right. And my first thought when she was like, oh, like life threats, we're not foreign to that. That's child's play. I'm like, okay, then why did you skip out on the JD Vance event? Because that was their excuse for why she skipped out on her and JD Vance's event, is she was getting threats.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, that was debunked anyway. But yeah, that was her excuse, and it obviously it makes no sense at all.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's whatever excuse fits the narrative at the time.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So let's continue.
My daughter not being able to have her father walk her down the aisle. Those little moments that I just pray for. Or like Charlie teaching my son how to throw a football. It's like little things like that. But just their hearts would be, and a hedge of protection around us and around the organization, because the enemy would love nothing more than to have destroyed what Charlie built with that one bullet. And it's not going to happen. It's just not. I refuse to let it happen.
That's what I'm talking about. She makes sure she's like that one bullet, and it's interesting because we know what theory was mentioned this week, which is the explosive microphone theory. And it's almost like reassurance, the one bullet that killed my husband.
Absolutely.
And if you've seen the,
I missed that the first time, but I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, because I feel like that's kind of embedded in the whole interview, is like kind of clarifying things, like, making sure that everything's consistent. Like, this is our story, we're sticking with it, which is fine. It's smart. That's smart.
She's seeding, which, like you said, what she's doing, she's seeding the crowd with information, things that she wants you to know or take away. That's absolutely. And the other thing I would like to say is she's saying that the enemy. Well, who number one, who is the enemy? But secondly, she's saying the enemy wants nothing more to destroy the organization that Charlie has built up. Well, she seems to be doing a pretty good job at doing that herself.
Yeah.
To be straight up honest, they Turning Point themselves are the ones that have pretty much done a complete 180 flip and are doing the complete opposite of everything Charlie ever stood for. They're the ones that Charlie said no to the donor pressure, the Israeli donor pressure, and turned down their money. And Erika, as soon as he died, then turned around and takes the money from the same donors that Charlie turned down. That she's doing everything against what Charlie would have done. Even with the Iran war, she'd come out and say, Charlie would have supported Trump, like everything she's doing is opposite of what Charlie would have wanted. And then they get mad when we point that out, and they actually deleted. They got so mad at us using Charlie's old clips to debunk them and prove that they're doing the complete opposite of what Charlie would have wanted, that they went and privated all the old videos of Charlie on their YouTube channel.
I know, and it's interesting because, once again, not to spoil anything, but she talks about, how one day they may distort Charlie's assassination. They're not going to relay history correctly. And I'm like, well, you're erasing what he put out into the world digitally. You're erasing history.
Yeah, exactly. That statement, we'll get into it when we get into it. But that statement was telling for two different reasons. One, because she's clearly trying to get ahead of what's coming down the pike, because she knows that the Fed slot story is not going to hold up. But the other part of her saying that, she's really they are the ones doing that. Same thing that they're accusing us of is what they're actually doing. It's confession through projection.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, so the next one is about how you forgive Tyler Robinson. So we will go to that one
Yeah.
here. That starts around 10-minute mark. So we'll start here.
Or like Charlie teaching my son how to throw a football. Hedge of protection have destroyed what Charlie built with that one bullet.
Together, we're going to do that. But Erika, you called yourself a widow. I mean, that probably seems strange to even call yourself a widow. I mean, you're a young woman, and the last thing you're thinking that I'm a widow. But I do want to ask you a hard question. Not that these other ones were easy, but many of us were touched significantly, profoundly, the way that you were able to forgive the killer of Charlie. Can you kind of walk us through that, and how did God give you the grace and ability to even say the words, let alone mean it?
For those of you who have been in a position of having to forgive someone who has done something unbelievably painful to you and your family, you realize that if you don't let go of that, it'll destroy you. That is not to say you forget. That is not to say that you accept and that you allow and that you condone it. It's putting you in a position that the devil does not have a foothold in your life. Because when I get to heaven, God willing, and I stand before God, and he says, I forgive you except for this one thing. And it's like,
And
I
that
don't
was
want anything to
Drewski. That one
separate
thing
me
was
from being.
Drewski.
Yep, exactly.
That one thing. That one thing was Drew. She said, "There's that one thing I can forgive." I can forgive Tyler Robinson, the shooter who killed my husband, but Drewski's comedy strip, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, she can forgive real quickly. She could forgive this guy that she says murdered her, Charlie or whatever. But she can't forgive, and she holds on to this anger for Candace Owens, for Drewski, for people like myself, anybody asking questions and stuff. And it really, like, why? Like, I don't, how can you forgive one and not the other? And that leads me to the only reason that she can forgive Tyler so easy is because she knows he's innocent. She knows that, it's very easy to forgive somebody that didn't do anything to you. It's just like Candace said on the show the other day.
But if you asked Blake or Andrew why they hate on you and Candace, they'd be like, because they attack Erika on a daily basis. That's what they would say, something like that. We can't forgive when you keep attacking us every day. That's exactly what they would say.
Yeah, and my response to that is, if you're saying attacking is just calling you out on the things you're doing wrong, whatever, because I mean it,
and I don't think
anything
I
that
agree.
Candace is saying, I'm saying we're go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't agree with the host necessarily either. He's kind of trying to placate and be like, you don't want to be called a widow. Who wants to be called a widow? That's not cool and hip. It's like, you're a widow. It's not like this isn't a trend. Being a widow doesn't trend out. It's just, it is. And, it's something that unfortunately in the cycle of life you experience, but he acted like, you're still young. You need to move on and, live you're a bachelorette now, live the high life. And I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The other thing is, I think we might have missed a section here. Give me a second here. I'm trying to find something to see when this was.
What was it about?
One second, I'm trying to find it. Says she focus on building. Not that one. It was where she researched other widows.
Oh, that was in the very beginning. I think that was in the beginning.
Yeah, I found it. I found my clip of it, so we'll watch my clip of it.
All right.
Okay, let me put that one back on here. Are we sharing it? Yeah, let me just make it full screen. Okay, so this clip is basically, many of us have said that we think Erika is basically like a chameleon, like a psychopath, really, but a chameleon. Like she placates or invents herself to be whatever her audience is. She tries to act the part for whatever she wants people to think. And this kind of backed it all up. This is very telling here, what she said right here, because she's talking about, in this clip, she's talking about how she went and researched other widows basically to see how to act. Because obviously we all know Erika can't act right. She doesn't know how to act like a normal human being, like a normal grieving widow. Because that's the biggest criticism that even people that don't think she had anything to do with her death, with Charlie's death. One of the biggest criticisms is she's not grieving. She's clearly not a grieving widow. She doesn't.
I know what tactics she's using here. That's why she kind of looks up. She's like, I'm just looking to other widows to just get some advice, like looking to them, just to see, what did you do in these awful times? But no, I think you're right. She has to look at other people and emulate them for emotions. Like, think about what she just said. She said, I had to ask other widows, like, how do you do this? Like, did you cry? Did you actually have tears come down? Did you just dab a little bit?
Exactly, because she's a psychopath, just like Elizabeth Lane said, and she is incapable of she cannot feel genuine emotion. So she's not capable. Like she's good at like acting the part in some ways, but when it comes to general emotion and like normal reactions, what people would expect, she doesn't know how to do that because she's incapable. Because psychopaths are incapable of doing that. They're incapable of having genuine emotion. So she's clearly acting, and she has to emulate people to try to pretend like she is whatever that she wants to be. And and it's very, like I said, it's very telling here.
It's a little late in the game for that. You know what I mean? Like, she probably should have done, looked up other widows before. You know what I mean? Like, looked them up earlier on, and
those
then
of you who've gone through grief, like I said, it fluctuates.
And
it's
then
a wave.
the Jackie
there are
Kennedy
moments where
thing.
you're just sitting.
Oh yeah. Well, let's watch this. Let's watch this, and then you can say about that. All right.
Every day is different. Those of you who've gone through grief, like I said, it fluctuates. It's a wave. There are moments where you're just sitting there and you're like, brace for impact. Like, the wave is coming, and you just gotta sit there and let it smack you in the face and then wash off. But it's one of those things where every day is different. I want my children, of course their childhood is going to look very different from a lot of other children's childhood, but I want them to know that they are so loved, that they have a army of people believing in them and supporting them, praying for them. But honestly, just a prayer of, again, protection, prayer for their hearts too, for my babies, because I don't know how there is no blueprint here. That's the weirdest part of all of this. I have tried to look at other widows that have been semi in the similar situation, which is it's very different at the same time because now we have social media and all this other crazy stuff out there. But there's no blueprint. So I am just relying so heavily on the Lord to just guide me on how to raise my babies through this and just really trusting in that. And it's going to take a village, and I want them to just have prayers for their heart because I don't know how it'll manifest in them when they get older. I do know that they will be walking with the Lord, and I do know that it's the little moments, like a father-daughter dance, or like my daughter not being able to have her father walk her down the aisle. Those little moments that I just pray for. Or like Charlie teaching my son how to throw a football. It's like little things.
Okay. So yeah, so clearly she admits what we've all, she pretty much admit to what we've all been talking about, that she's incapable of real emotion. She has to look to other widows to see how to act, to how to portray real emotion. And honestly, that admits that she's not grieving. To be straight up honest with you, that to me, that shows that she's not grieving. If she, because she wouldn't have to be looking to other widows to see how to act and how to grieve, if she really loved Charlie and was really grieving him, because it would just be natural to her. She would naturally be grieving,
Yeah, no. And, Candace brought up a good point. Like, when does the widow thing expire? And I think she even was looking into legal definitions. Like, when does mourning stop? Like, when do you stop being a widow? Is it when you move on? Is it when, you really think that you've gone through all stages of grieving? Is it when you stop wearing black? Is it when you start dating somebody else? When does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different with every person. Although I will say that there's usually some sort of a period of time where you're just grief stricken and you can't do anything. You can't even function properly. I've known people that have lost their children, lost their husbands and stuff, and they can't even get out of bed most days. They can't do anything. And Erika is the complete opposite of that. She's smiling, laughing, on camera, on Zoom calls, to emojis and stuff, talking about merch sales. That, there was no grieving process there at all.
No, when Candace had that interview with Anna Kasparian, Anna Kasparian's a strong voice in politics. She has no children whatsoever. But she said if anything happened to her husband, she would go MIA for a few years. Or she said that she would not come out and publicly speak for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't think Candace would either.
No. I mean,
Candace said she laid in bed. She said she couldn't even get out of bed after Charlie died. And she said she actually felt like a bad mother because she couldn't get out of bed hardly. And that's kind of the reaction I was expecting out of Erika.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't get it. And honestly, that was one of the first things to people that made a lot of people think that something was not right, I mean, we knew. I'll put it this way: we knew because of the 30-16. We knew that was not right off the bat. We knew that was complete bull crap. There's no way it would have took his head off. So we knew right away that the government was lying to us. But when we came out and we saw that Erika was not even grieving whatsoever, and that Turning Point was pretty much backing the Fed slop narrative that we all knew was complete bullcrap and was impossible, then that's what made us think, wait a minute, there's something bigger going on here. We think these people are involved.
Well, and here's the contradiction with that. They don't want us to push our theories or narratives, but they do push the Fed one. Because, have you noticed that they'll constantly remind everybody it was a leftist woke person who shot Charlie. it was one bullet, it was this, it was that. But when it comes to us and our theories, they're like, well, we don't know anything yet for certain. The trial has just begun, and until we actually see the evidence and stuff. But they're doing the same thing that they're accusing us of doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that, that's the thing that makes me the angriest is, they are the ones that are going out there and contaminating the jury pool. They're intentionally trying to contaminate the jury pool. And yet they want to try to sit there and blame us and say that we're the ones doing it. No, he has a presumption of innocence, and we're pointing out, we're counteracting all the crap that you're putting out there and the media's putting out there, trying to say, that this Fed slop narrative, and it's complete bull crap. And they're not doing it. Like, if they would do a proper investigation, then none of us would even have to be doing any of this. But the fact that they're not doing a proper investigation, they haven't done a proper investigation from the beginning. I mean, they haven't even confiscated, Charlie's cell phone for an example. They didn't confiscate the camera.
Yeah, they don't have.
They let the car that they took him in the car. They sold it and let it go. They didn't. It's just everything that they've cut up all the grass and replaced it with pavers. Days after Charlie's, everything they've done has been covering it up instead of actually doing an actual investigation.
Yeah, I basically talked about that with someone yesterday. I'm like, everything's contaminated. It's blotched. The evidence is either hidden, contaminated, blotched, or they're not even looking into it. You know what I mean? Like the crime
like, why does
scene
Turning
was
Point have the microphone still?
Yeah, and then the necklace. I'm actually wearing a St. Michael necklace, but the necklace.
Yeah, why does she still have the necklace? Why does she still have his cell phone? Why does she still have Charlie's shirt? Why does she still have the microphone? Why aren't they in evidence?
Yeah, I don't understand, But I'll tell you one thing, if the jury pool's boomers, we're screwed.
Yeah, I know. And that's what they're hoping for, That's why they're constantly pandering to them. That's why they're going, they got the, that's why we just saw the hearing, the Tyler Robinson hearing, I think last week, where they were trying to hold the prosecution, in contempt for violating the gag order by going on Fox News and stuff, and trying to contaminate the jury pool, saying he's guilty and stuff. So. Oh, by the way, against my better judgments in the room, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey. The one last thing I'll say is, when they use the excuse, we don't know, this is for the judicial system and the authorities to figure out, we don't know, the case isn't that far along yet. Well, that goes for both ends. That goes for the Fed narrative and our narrative or theories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That goes for both sides. Okay.
All right. So the second one we're going to get into here is this, where she talks about, it's a spiritual battle of good versus evil, and they're trying to divide the country, and she's giving you, her perspective on it. But we think it's important to give you our perspective as well. So we'll watch this clip and then we'll talk about it.
And again, it wasn't scripted. And I just knew that saying that was my moment of being able to literally make a statement against Satan, saying, you can take my husband and you can try to divide this country, but I refuse to let you take any piece of me, because I need to be here for my babies. And I need to also be here for what my husband.
Let me just stop real quick, because once again, she's back to doing the fake dab, the fake tear dabbing, the dry eyes. There's there's not a tear in the eye there, and she's dabbing it like she's crying, like she's really trying hard to get a single tear to squeeze out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to point that out because she's very performative, and that's one of the things that she's been doing
And she's
throughout this
pandering.
interview.
She's pandering to the mothers. You know, my babies.
big
I got to
time.
be here for my babies. So
Big time. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I rail on her against constantly. Like I said, I'm tired. I'm sick of them using the emotional blackmail side up on everybody.
yeah, they have to.
Left
That's all
for
they.
us and then
That's just like the left. Just like the left, they're using emotional manipulation.
Exactly. And that's what got us into this mess in the first place in this country. And that's why a lot of us are fed up with it. You know, we're tired of being lied to. We're tired of people trying to throw psyops on us and fool us and, you know, use emotional blackmail and stuff. We're done with it. We're done with it. We want the truth. We want to fix this country, and we're tired of these people, man.
Yep, exactly.
Did to us.
Thank you for sharing that, and so powerful. At the impact of that, I think, is continuing on. I know it is, Erika, continuing on in so many people's lives right now. Well, let me flip the page just ever so slightly. So now you're the CEO of Turning Point USA. That happened literally overnight. I mean, there was a board process that completely affirmed your role as the next CEO of Turning Point USA. But this is not like a mom and pop grocery store.
And of course,
It was
that was
overnight,
very
all right.
intentional too. Yeah, but that was, I don't know if you noticed that. That's very intentional too, where he said, you know, you're the Turning Point CEO. There was a board process that confirmed you to be the official CEO or whatever, the new CEO.
Yeah, right.
You know, to me, like, that's very intentional. That is another way for them to say, like, so what? Who cares about a stinking video? Who cares if we put this AI video out pretending that Charlie, you know, gave the company over to Erika? Who cares? It doesn't matter. The board are the ones that you know, that appointed Erika. So who cares? None of this matters. Who cares?
It was a very sophisticated, involved process, Colin.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out because that was very, like I said, and like they're intentionally seeding, like you said, they're intentionally seeding information in there, and that's one of the things that they intentionally put in there as a specific, you know, clap back to us calling them out for the, you know, the fake AI video.
Yep.
Store. I mean, Turning Point USA is a growing, dynamic, multifaceted organization. Turning Point Education being.
He says it's a growing organization. I'm going to disagree with him there too. It's on the decline. It's actually in free fall.
That's on that decrease.
Yeah,
it's on that decrease.
It was on the decrease even before Charlie, you know, but you know, when Charlie died, yes, there was a big bump and they got a whole bunch of money and everything, but they're still on the decrease, and even more so now. The only reason, like I said, Turning Point is already over with. They're done. They just don't realize it yet. The only reason that they are still, you know, even able to pretend like they're this big thing that they're not, is because of all the money that they got, the influx of money on, once again, on people's emotions, though. You know, they did that raising money off of people's emotions from Charlie's death. But once that money runs out, they're done with, man. They won't have this big bankroll to go attack all of us, to attack everybody, you know, that disagrees with them. You know, they won't be able to buy all these podcasters to support them, because that's the reason all these podcasters and everything are all supporting them, is because they're paying them. You know, if they weren't paying them, none of these people would be supporting them.
No, and I'm really glad that you're saying this. I don't hear many people say it, but, you know, a lot of people use that as a defense. They're just like, Turning Point's doing fine. What do you mean? Like, you know, they're still on X and they still have events and stuff. I'm like, Yeah, but they've lost chapters. They're falsely reporting how much involvement in chapters are actually going on.
Yeah, exactly. They're faking chapters like Z and the Unfuck America people pointed out. You know, more than half of their chapters are completely fake, completely made up. You know, out of the 71 chapters that she contacted, I think like only 7 of them were real chapters out of 71. I mean, that really tells you
Yeah.
something. You know, and then on
Well, it's
top
like
of that,
yeah.
even their events, when you go to, like, when we see to their events, they're empty. Nobody's going to these events. They have to, what they do is they have to, matter of fact, they started something new. You know, I don't know if I think I might have asked you when I interviewed last time, but if not, or well, you can say it again. But I know they started something new with these hype squads where they started hiring these kids. And when I say hiring, I don't know whether they're actually paying them cash to do it or whether they're just paying them and giving them, you know, free merch and free tickets and stuff. But they're getting these kids and giving them a bunch of free stuff or money or whatever it is to go there wearing all this TPA merch and everything, and to basically to be their hype people. And it's called the Hype Squad, the Turning Point Hype Squad. And they're using these kids to go there and basically clap at the times that they want them to clap. You know, they're like, you know, the fake audience.
When Erika started this interview, you heard her address the crowd, and she made sure to mention it. She was like, "Oh wow, look at this turnout! I'm so proud of you all." And there, everybody, you can hear the crowd. They're like, "Yeah,
yeah, exactly."
Yeah, because and then he mentions here in a little bit. He'll say, this is bigger than last year. You know, this is the biggest we've ever had. He says something like that about this.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And and it may be, but like I said, that's not going to last because they're on the downcline because people, and they can. There are certain demographics that they do have good support with still, but the main vision of what Turning Point it was built upon and for was the youth. You know, because Charlie had his finger on the pulse of the youth in America, and they've lost that. They do not have that anymore. They do not have the support of the youth anymore at all. So therefore, the organization is dead. You know, that's what it was founded upon. That's what it was for. And honestly, that's why it's relevant, is because of that, because the youth is so important. These boomers are all dying off, and they're not going to matter much anymore. The youth are the youth are the future of the country. They're the future voters. They're the future congressmen. They're the future people that are going to be involved in leadership and corporations and stuff. And Charlie knew that, and Charlie had those people. They all followed him. They respected him. They loved him. He had his finger on the pulse. He knew what they wanted. He pandered to them. He was able to get through to these people, even the people that disagree with him, like Z. You know, she didn't agree with stuff he said, but she respected him. You know,
love that.
And Turning Point does not have that anymore. You know, when Charlie died, they didn't realize that Turning Point was Charlie. That's the thing. Turning Point was Charlie. You know, there is no separating them. Exactly.
He was
without Charlie.
Yeah.
The organization is dead. You think people give a crap about Erika Kirk or Andrew Colvett or any of them? No, they were there for Charlie. That's all they cared about was Charlie.
Yeah, and this woman was arguing with me the other day, and she was like, you don't think maybe, you think the organization has to like stick with everything Charlie believed and, everything like he did? I was like, I mean, yeah, I think they should at least, model and go by his principles. She's like, maybe the organization is about she's like, maybe the organization's about something bigger. And I'm like, it is God. That's what he believed in.
Yeah, exactly.
But the
God. Thing is,
that's pretty big.
even that pisses people off though, because they're bastardizing the Bible. They're not telling the Bible the true way. You know, and I'm not a big Bible thumper or whatever, but they're not, they are, they're basically using the Bible to push a false narrative. They're using the Bible to push this false narrative about Israel to force Israel down people's throats, and they're also using the Bible to demonize people like Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, myself, and people don't like that. That's they see right through it. That's not Christian like. That's not what God would have wanted. That's not what Charlie would have wanted.
No, and I wasn't going to say anything, but they haven't. Turning Point hasn't just lost the youth. Israel lost the youth. I feel like
absolutely.
Gen Z down. Yeah, Gen Z, like the whole thing kind of backfired, honestly. I think you and I knew what the agenda was. And, the Gen Z on down is definitely not going in the direction they hoped. It had the exact opposite effect.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is Charlie knew that. He understood that. And that's why Charlie was changing his views on Israel as well. And he was actually making headway and trying to get Trump on the right path and get him to come around and realize that as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why they killed him. That's one of the big reasons why they killed him. And yeah, I mean, because if they hadn't, there's a good chance we probably may not have even gone to war. We may not have ever bombed Iran. And if we never bombed Iran, then we never would have bombed that schoolhouse with all those children in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And once again, it goes back to the point I made earlier. The resilience is because of Charlie. That's the whole irony. Like people, I guess it matters. I don't know. I guess, think about this. His whole life, he was pro-Israel. And then right there at that last little bit of his life is when he changed his mind. And I think that's I think that's part of what divides us, A lot of people are like, well, the majority of his life, he was pro-Israel. But then there at the very end, some people aren't willing to accept that switch, even though he confided in Tucker and Megyn Kelly about it. And
he said, he said it's not just confided, he said it publicly too,
Yeah, but they're trying to use like the majority of his life versus the end. And I see where you could make an argument out of that, but I mean, he felt the way he felt in the end, and he said it publicly. So I feel like people like you and I on our side, we're just being practical. We're like, this is how the man felt when he died, and he told people that.
Yeah, and the fact that and that's one of the things that why people hate Turning Point and Erika so much is because she intentionally was behind this lying. She sat there and she let people lie, and let Blake and Andrew lie, let Alex Clark lie, all these people lie and attack Candace for just telling the truth, for saying that Charlie was leaving the Israel cause. He was done with Israel, man. And when she said that, the amount of hate that she got from those people was insane. And they all tried to say she was lying and she's full of shit. And then she produced the receipts and proved it, and then once she did that, that gave the power that, that kind of, I guess, empowered other people like Tucker and Megyn to come out and also say, hey, Candace is telling the truth, and they couldn't deny it at that point. But even now they still try though. Her, like when she goes on the Charlie's book tour, pushing, if you don't support Israel, then you're just a bad person or whatever. And Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, but remember that chameleon stuff. Remember that chameleon stuff you were talking about? Tucker said that she was super anti-Israel when he had dinner with him. It's that chameleon thing. But hey, once again, Colin, once again, I think that dinner they had with Tucker where she was being very anti-Israel, I think that was thinking ahead. I think that was planting seeds again. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Candace is right on the head with that, where she says that, that proves that, Erika is basically was trying to push Charlie she knew what the consequences of Charlie turning on Israel would be, and she was intentionally trying to push him down that path because, if they did really have those discussions where, she knew that she would be put in charge if something happened to Charlie, or even if they didn't have the discussion, she knew the board was on her side and the board would put her on her side, would put her in place if something happened to Charlie. She's always been, that's one of the things with her, she's always used relationships as a ladder. She's always been a social climber, using relationships to socially climb. What can
Hey, I'm having your voice sounds messed up on my end. Are you there?
Yeah.
I think you're froze.
Am I? Let me check. Try that again. Is that any better?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was just afraid the audience couldn't hear you. What was the last thing that you said?
Yeah. So, Erika has always been a social climber. She's always used relationships to get ahead. She's never dated a normal person. She's always dated, a basketball player, a baseball player, a political commentator, high profile people, how can she use them to further herself, further her career and her social standing? Because she's always seeked fame and attention her entire life. She's a fame whore, massive fame whore. And I think it was no different with Charlie too. She was using Charlie as well, and I think that she knew, and that's kind of what Candace was alluding to, is that she knew that pushing Charlie down the turning on Israel road was going to lead to them killing him. And if that happened, then that would put her in control of the company and make her the most important person in the in the movement, in the conservative movement. And she wanted that. She was like foaming at the mouth for that. And I think that's why and she was lying.
I feel like this is kind of her, I don't know if I would say last chance, but maybe a Hail Mary. Like this is did you see what she said? Charlie's Angels.
Yep. She is really stupid. Good to see you, by the way. Thank you. That's one of the people helped me with research. And also Skerika's in here. Good to see you. Yeah. If you guys haven't checked her out, she has a YouTube channel and also an X, but go check her out. She does some really great impressions of Erika. She does these skits. They're amazing, funny as hell. Great person too. I love her. So go check her out.
But I feel like she was this is one of her last shots at being a high profile person. Like I said, she has the glitz and glamour and the look, but she doesn't have the substance. She doesn't have that, she's not captivating like Charlie was. And I think a lot of people think it's unfair that we compare her to Charlie, because Charlie was just such a juggernaut. He was just an amazing, he was just,
there really is nobody that can compare to Charlie, but at the same time, she doesn't have any personality herself. All her personality is basically emulating other people.
Yeah. And it's interesting because she seems like one of those people that thought she could just ride on the coattails of her beauty. But, because she tried starring in a movie, she tried pageants. She tried, what else did she do? Well, she said real estate.
Mm-hmm.
It's just she's tried all these different avenues and it just hasn't seemed to work out.
No, and even her entrepreneur, she wants to act like she was just big successful entrepreneur before Charlie. She wasn't. She sold a couple handbags on Etsy, basically. She wasn't any big. she acted like she was just some big deal, and she wasn't. Like nobody even knew who the hell she was, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, unless she's like this secret genius who's just kind of putting this front up, I mean, yeah, no. I think it's more lack of personality than it is like lack of intelligence, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, she's definitely an intelligent person because she has to be able to, you know, use them in, you know, manipulation and emotional blackmail techniques. Um, you know, and also to even be able to fool Charlie into thinking, you know, to fall in love with him. You know, she has to have some kind of intelligence. But yeah, you're absolutely right. She just doesn't have that.
Have you ever heard her talk about their first date?
Yeah, yeah. It's and that
I don't know why, but I just feel like she's like, yeah, you know, so on our first date, I think her and Charlie both said this, but like they talked about theology and Socrates, and I'm like, I know Charlie was interested in that stuff, but I don't know. It sounded scripted. You know what I mean? Like she studied him before they got together.
She did, absolutely. You know, I forget what year it was, but there was this one point where she had like, she says that she was basically at home studying for that entire year, you know, about the Bible and everything else, and didn't go anywhere. And I think that's what it was. I think she was studying. She was given an assignment. You know, you have to get, you know, your next assignment is going to be this guy, and you're going to have to handle him. You know, and you need to trick him into falling in love with you. And I think that's what she did. I think she took a year to really study him, get to know what she thinks, you know, kind of girl. Because she even says in one interview, she even says, you know, if you want a guy like Charlie, you gotta, you know, be a, you know, you gotta put yourself, you gotta make yourself, you know, something, you know, somebody that Charlie would want or whatever. You gotta be a girl that Charlie would want.
Yeah.
So she's not that, and she obviously isn't that because we called her lying so much, you know, about drinking and dating in her past and all that. You know, she's definitely not this good Christian trad wife that you know she tries to, you know, act like she is. She's a hypocrite. But she's like, if you want a man like Charlie, you have to attract a man like Charlie and be, you know, pretend to be. And she's just pretending. She's just
Yeah.
It's just all an act for her. That's the thing with her. So everything is just an act with her. There's nothing real behind her. There's no real emotions behind her.
No,
There's no
like,
real personality behind her. No, nothing.
have you noticed that's a common thing? I mean, I think that's why the Charlie Kirk shows and the Charlie Kirk show is in the shape that it's in, is because no one really has. Have you noticed that no one has a personality on the Charlie Kirk show? It's monotone, and I feel like who can relate to Andrew Colvett? Who can relate to Blake Neff? I wouldn't want to relate to them at all. But I'm just saying, it's just very wah, 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 you
Milk
know.
toast, yeah. Very milk toast.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just like no one relates to you all. I think, you know, people like Candace, the reason why she has such a big following is because she's relatable. I just feel like even when I was working there, this is counterintuitive, but they're very out of touch with humanity. They deal with people all the time and they do grassroots, but they're very out of touch with humanity and people.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important. And that's why one of the reasons why people love Charlie so much is because he had his finger on the pulse. You know, that's why he went to these colleges and was constantly out there talking to these kids and meeting them right there, you know, what their ideals are and going face to face with them because he wanted to understand how these people think, you know, how the kids are thinking, what they're going through. He wanted to see all that and to feel all that, to understand that, because you have to understand it to be able to, you know, to you know, come up with things that, you know, to make their life better or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And Erika,
But
Erika
Charlie
represents
wasn't
the Epstein
dating.
elite class. No, but Erika represents that elite class, that Epstein class, and she's never going to be, she wears, $3,500. The girl, the woman, I'm gonna say girl, but it's not girl, woman. The woman I spoke with, when for the that saw Erika and Blake Wynn, in the Beverly Hills Hotel or whatever on their date. She sent me a whole bunch of pictures of Erika, of things that she was wearing or whatever, different clothing from various pictures. And Erika's wearing, like, everything she's wearing is super high designer, super high end. She's wearing $3,500 tennis shoes, a $6,500 blouse. She's super high maintenance designer, elite class. She doesn't relate to normal people who are struggling day to day. She doesn't relate to broke ass college kids, that don't even have enough money to put, a couple dollars worth of gas in their gas tank,
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but that glitz and glamour also attracts young girls, though. It's kind of like the Instagram model. You know what I mean?
And honestly, it's a bad thing to do. Honestly, I see that just almost not quite as bad, but almost as destructive as like these OnlyFans models. You're trying to influence these young girls and teach them to be something that is super superficial. Superficial. You're trying to teach these girls to be superficial, only care about money, only care about living the high life, not care about what really matters, which is love, family, children, relationships.
Yeah, well, and think about this.
Like that.
Think about this. She's telling all these girls to have babies as young as you can and have kids, and it's like, these people don't have nannies. These people don't have assistants that, oh, I'm going to fly to Vegas to hang out with Blake Wynn. Can you watch my kids until tomorrow morning? Like, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody has that accessibility. And I have a theory. I think if Erika was a plain Jane, if she just looked like your average Jane Doe, I don't even think we would even be seeing her anymore.
No, you're right.
No, if she was an average plain Jane, she would have been over to begin with. Like, it would have been over before it even started.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah. But the most interesting thing about her is her outfits.
Yeah, definitely. I had something I was gonna say something, but I lost my train of thought. So we'll just continue.
Yeah.
One of maybe 6 or 7 major divisions.
We already saw that comment, so let's go to the next one here. 15, where we talk about Charlie's plan. Oh, no, wait, we already talked about Charlie's plan, didn't we? Well, yeah,
Turning Point USA. And so now you're the CEO. What has been some of the challenges, but also some of the blessings of stepping into that role that you had not anticipated that was going to happen like that?
Let me pull the curtain back just a little bit for you guys, because I think a lot of people have some misunderstanding. Is not the right word, but I think it's just helpful to clarify a few things here. Those of you who have spouses that you have watched build a company, an organization, a startup, that you've been alongside them for that, you see the inner workings of things. You see how much they pour their heart and their soul into something. You see the decisions. You become their confidant. You become their vault. You become their sounding board. And so as time went on, being with Charlie, there was no daylight between us. So him and I were always in lockstep. And
which is interesting, because along with many other people, I couldn't have even told you what she looked like until a year ago. My first year that I worked at Turning Point, I didn't even see her.
Yeah, and that actually is very interesting because I don't think she got involved with the company. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but that kind of tells me what you just said. What you just said.
I mean, I was on the. I don't know. One time, Candace said an insider, and Candace said one of the insiders at TPUSA said, Erika doesn't know us. She doesn't know our names. Like, she barely comes around, barely talks to any of us. And Erika's saying the opposite here in a minute.
Yeah, and she, obviously she's a liar. She's a known liar. She's a pathological liar. We've caught her lying so many times. So you really can't take anything she says at face value to begin with. So most likely she is
what
lying.
She's doing.
But
what she's doing. Sorry.
What I was gonna say is what you said though about her not coming around till like a year before or whatever, Charlie's death. That's kind of intentional as well. I think I think that, like I said, it was planned. Mm-hmm. They planned this. She was involved in it. She had foreknowledge. She knew what was going to happen. And I think that, like I said, she was placed around along with Tyler and Andrew, and they were all placed around her. She was the last puzzle piece to be put in. And once they realized that they couldn't control him anymore, that's when they activated her. And that's when she started to become more active, involved in Turning Point. That way she would be able to seamlessly take over, or what she thought anyway would be a seamless takeover.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say.
To it.
That's what she's doing here. So she's working up to that point. So right now she's saying, me and Charlie were side by side. I mean, there wasn't daylight between us because we were basically on top of each other. So wherever he went, I went. And then that's where she goes to, it wasn't a learning curve. When she took over as CEO, she's like, it wasn't but a thing. It wasn't a learning curve because she's implying she already knew what to do. She already assumed the role. She already knew the role. But we know how much but then once again, in the beginning, the excuse was, well, my goodness, she's never been a CEO before. She just stepped in, she's got to fill some big shoes. So once again, whatever excuse fits at the time.
You're exactly right. 100%.
But that's what she's doing right now. So she's saying she already knew how to do a lot of the role because she was with Charlie a lot. So.
Yeah. And that also, I think that also is backed up by, when Trump called her after Charlie's death and was like, how much do you know? Remember how she said on Mick? Well, Andrew said it first and then she repeated it on Mick and Kelly. And somebody important called and it was like, how much do you know? And she's like, I know everything.
Clearly you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like anyone else. I mean, we had a emergency plan, which obviously we never thought would have to be executed on, but it's one of those things where we obviously have had the conversation of, God forbid, if something happens to you or myself, what's the plan? We were not foreign to death threats, or I personally got rape threats. We have kidnapping threats. Like, it's not something that's foreign to us. So it was a conversation that needed to be had. And of course it's uncomfortable, but life is life. Life is short. It's good to know that you have a plan. So all along.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yep. So I think that, like I said, that once again, that's very telling that even she would bring up this whole death threat, rape threat thing or whatever.
Yeah, I like how she's using the R word now. I think she sprinkled that on there.
Oh, absolutely. this is the woe is me, feel bad for me. You know, she's trying to get this woe is me, feel bad for me vibe going. And it also fits the broader pattern, what you see Trump, you know, all these other influencers doing and the Trump administration doing and Bongino and all of them trying to push, like, it's the candy cult. It's all these people that are on, you know, Candace's side that are causing these people to radicalize them and to want to attack her and to cause her harm. It's all our fault. And you see them building that. You see them trying to push that narrative. You know, them saying that there was active death threats against Erika Kirk, so we had to arrest these people. That's why she couldn't be at the event with JD Vance that day or whatever. And come to find out, the supposed death threat, you know, at that event with JD Vance was just some guy trolling online. Didn't even really, you know, there was nothing serious behind it. It wasn't a serious death threat.
No.
And
no,
like you know how many times, you know, their side threat, you know, they want to talk about death threats. I get death threats all the time. I'm probably one of the most hated people. Like, I get death threats constantly from that side. You don't see me talking about them. You don't see me crying about it. I don't even take them seriously because all these people are like, whatever, you know, like Candace said on her show, I think one time, it's the people that announce themselves, you know, and say they're going to kill you. They're not the ones you got to worry about. They just want to scare you. The ones that you got to worry about are the ones that don't say anything, you know, because if somebody really wants to do something to you, they don't want you to change your schedule. They don't want you to add more security. They don't want you to be looking over your shoulder, paranoid. They just want you to feel safe, feel comfortable, and be in a routine that they can know your routine, and then they can exploit it to kill you or whatever they want to do. And, you know, these people that openly say, you know, I hope Erika dies, or I hope this, that, I want you to die, but they're not, you don't take those people seriously. And the only reason that you see the Trump administration and Erika and all these people trying to take them seriously and make arrests and all this crap is because they're trying to push that narrative. They're trying to push that words are dangerous. You know, they want to shut us down. They want to shut our free speech down. That is the avenue that they want to try to use to shut our free speech down. And honestly, it's less about Erika Kirk and it's more about Israel, because they want to push this, you know, anti-Semitism is brain rot, and we're all anti-Semitic because we have a problem with Israel being, you know, so involved in our politics and basically being able to buy congressmen and everything. You know, just because we notice that and have a problem with that, we're all anti-Semitic, and that's what they really want to stop. That's what they're pushing all these laws against, and this is another avenue that they're using to do it. That's all it is.
Yep. Are you gonna? I was gonna say this right here. She has two different gears. It's this tough cookie mode, like I dare you, jump frog jump, or it's crying, like I want to go home. It's either this or that. There's like no in between. So right now is tough mode. This interview is more tough mode. Like I dare you to fuck with me, like that type of thing.
Yeah, and it's honestly, to see the switch it's very weird to see the switch between that, because like honestly, that's why people think it's so weird. Like the one speech that she did, you know, in Charlie's studio where she, you know, looked like a sash and dressed like Eminem or whatever, you know, where she was like, she was constantly like switching in and out, like, like that's fucking weird. I'm sorry, but that is weird. Normal people do not act like that. They do not do that. There's something wrong with you, woman. You're possessed.
Yeah, and you'll see that towards the end, but let's let her go into this whole, like, she was natural for the role.
Charlie and I, we confided in the team. It wasn't an unknown thing. God forbid if something happened, this is the route we're going to take. I am so grateful that Charlie had me involved in literally as much as possible with Turning Point USA, TPUSA Faith, other programs within the Turning Point USA umbrella. So much so to the point when everything happened, there was a 0% learning curve here. So I didn't walk into the office for the first time being like, wow, what is this place? There's 6 buildings. But before all of this, I used to take the kids to the
Colin. That's her. This is her like reassuring everybody, I was on the grounds, I was there. I know what the buildings look like. Like, this isn't unfamiliar to me. You know what I mean? She's trying to convince, like, I didn't just jump into something blindly.
The donors too. Yeah, exactly. The donors as well, because that's one of the things that she's very super. I know for a fact, because I've heard it from people on the inside. One of the things that she's very super conscious about and really gets under her skin that really bothers her is that people do not accept her as the CEO of Turning Point. They do not think she's qualified. They do not think it's what Charlie would have wanted. And that is like a very big sticking point with her. And bringing this up is like one of her ways to try to, once again, seed the crowd and be like, no. I knew exactly what I was doing. There was no learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. She goes on to say it here.
Office pretty much daily. Sometimes because like Gigi would have dance class and stuff like that every other day, whatever, but I would bring them in because I wanted them to see Daddy doing his radio show. I wanted them to be able to see running around the offices, having fun and making friends with some of the employees, because they would give them gifts. Like, it was a family, and it still is a family. And that's the way that the organization has always operated.
Anybody that refers to the organization as a family, to me, that's like cult. When she says family, you can just basically just swap out the word with cult, because that's what it is. She's fostering a cult-like atmosphere.
Turning Point in general is not a familial atmosphere. I can tell you that right now. It's more like every man for himself. It is not. Yeah, it's not a family. And USA is worse.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's about to say something else here too about, I know everything about all these people that work for me. I bet you do, because I'm sure you can attest to this, but they put surveillance software on all these people's devices. That way they track everything that all their employees do to make sure that they're not leaking stuff or whatever, So, of course, you know everything about them, because it's a cult and you're spying on these people. And then the people that, that don't go along with your cult and don't go along with the official narrative or not really like Erika, they get rid of them. Yeah. That's not a family. You don't get rid of your family just because you disagree with somebody.
Well, I talked to someone the other day, one of the managers there, and they said that like they're definitely vetting people harder now that they hire. They're taking their time now actually looking into people because, I told you, people just want to work there to be a mole.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I do too. I'm like, that's dedication right there.
Definitely.
That is dedication. Yeah, go ahead.
And so when it came to the moments after everything happened, I didn't look at the room and say, Huts, who are you? I didn't.
That's another thing I want to bring up is she says this word. She calls all these people that all the underlings at Turning Point, that she, all the people, all the employees at Turning Point. And she says this like 3 or 4 times just in this little short thing. And then she brings it up later in the interview again. But she calls them all Huts, like H-U-T-Z or H-U-T-S. What the hell is a hut?
That?
It's like a weird
sports
code word or nickname or something. I don't know. If anybody knows what a hut is, please tell me, because that just sounds so weird to me. And to me, that to me just gives even more cult vibes.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if that's sports lingo because she was an athlete. Like hut hut. I don't know.
Yeah, it might
That's
be. I don't
football.
know, but it's very weird. But we'll listen to it again. But she says it like 3 or 4 times just in this little like short 2-minute segment, and then she says it a couple more times later on in the episode too.
I didn't look at the room and say, Huts, who are you? I didn't. I knew all of them by name.
Huts.
I know a vast majority of our staff by name. I know their families. I know their backgrounds. I know what programs they're working on. I never.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, she does now, exactly. And that's the reason, like I said, because she does surveillance on all these people and is making sure that, tracking their every move like a great white shark, to make sure that they're not defecting or feeding intelligence to anybody on the outside, or aren't secretly, anti-Erika. They're super paranoid.
Had to say, Huts, what are you guys doing for Turning Point education programs they're working on? I never had to say, Huts, what are you guys doing for Turning Point education? You need to stop, because what happens is, and those of you who own either companies or organizations, what happens is it's almost like a new football coach that comes in where
sports.
I guess we'll just use Alabama.
Yeah, maybe it is a sports reference. I don't know. Like I said, everybody knows. Let me know.
That may be like Urban Dictionary, not Webster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe.
I'm going to start calling you a hut. I'm going to say, hey, hut, I'm talking to you.
Hey, well, I tell you what, all my haters on the line already do. They already call me Jabba the Hutt. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hut, that's the thing. I want to find out that
maybe that's what she's doing. Maybe she's calling them all fat. And she's like, "Hey, fats, what's up, fats? I know all your names, fats."
I looked it up and I said, when you're referring to a person as a hut, what does that mean? I literally typed that out, and it said like a box person, like a stocky, like box individual. And I pictured like SpongeBob, like, people, like SpongeBob body built. And I'm like,
derogatory. It said derogatory too. Like I said, like Jabba the Hutt. She's intentionally calling people huts, meaning she thinks they're all fat. I love that. She just insulted her entire team at Turning Point.
Yeah, Turning Point, they're fat phobic.
Yeah.
That's a good pause. Yeah. You're on mute.
Okay, so
looks like Blake Lively there.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, let's see. Let's go to 2505 rewrite. I'm going to skip a couple of these because we've taken a lot of time here. We're probably not going to get through the whole thing. We'll do a couple more.
Yeah, we can just do highlights.
Yeah.
Definitely 25.
Rewrite history. Yeah. 20 exactly. They're the two that I want, the really big ones I want to hit. So let's hit them, and then we'll hit them, and then I'll show the last clip that I posted right before we did our live, and then we'll call it a night.
Sweet.
And then we can do another one tomorrow or another day or later. I don't know. We can do another one at a different time and do the rest of it if you want, but we'll just hit some of the most important ones for now.
For sure.
Okay, so where was I at? Okay, 25 is the rewrite history. Let's do that one. And this one is where she's seating, really seating the crowd, prepping them for what's to come, because she knows, she could see the writing on the wall.
I don't know if we'll go through this part, but she does look at the audience like nothing's going to stop me. Like when people try to stop me doing something, it just makes me want to do it even more. So she shares that with the audience.
Yeah, that's well. I don't think I got to that point yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have enough time to finish watching it myself yet, unfortunately. But
Well, you got
yeah.
me.
So in this part, yeah, I appreciate that. So in this part, she's talking about rewriting history, talking about like people will maybe even want to people are even trying to rewrite my husband's death or his assassination or whatever.
She predicts
And
that.
exactly, she is trying to get ahead of the curve. She's trying to see
You know what
the
that
next
translates?
psyop out there, the next information. She wants people to, she knows that their narrative is not going to hold up. That Tyler Robinson is probably going to be found not guilty, and then they'll have no choice but to face the truth, which is he was not killed with a 30-06, and it was a bigger conspiracy to kill him. And who was involved? And she's seeding that narrative, trying to present it as disinformation, as these people are just trying to make a fake narrative. They're trying to
Yep.
rewrite history. They're like revisionist history or whatever. That's what she's trying
that's
to
her
see
way.
it as.
Yeah, and she's preparing them that like that's just a translation to there's two different narratives right now. One of them,
believe me, don't believe them, believe me.
Yeah, she's saying no. There's the truth, which is me, but they're probably going to try to change it.
Exactly.
You have our chapters with our program. And then after that, you have our young professionals in our communities program. So there's something for you at every age and stage of life with Turning Point. But again, going back to the educator side, you guys play a massive role in the front lines of what's going on in our country, because without you guys, people are going to rewrite history. They're going to rewrite different, literally, they're probably even going to try to rewrite my husband's assassination. You guys are in the middle of history being made. And
do you see that side eye? You see that side eye?
She said, and you could tell she's so inauthentic. You could clearly, to me, you could clearly see that she's just feeding information. You could tell just by looking. I mean, we'll watch it again because I really want you to pay attention to her. Like you said, you showed her look. Look at her. Look, just pay attention. You can see when she's lying, when she's just saying stuff that she knows to be untrue, and she is intentionally just trying to seed information or put a narrative out.
Yeah.
You guys are in the middle of history being made, and I find it so important for us to be able to be an added resource to you all, whether that's trying to make understanding of what's going on in this world, or what I
think I went too far.
People are going to rewrite history. They're going to rewrite different. Literally, they're probably even going to try to rewrite my husband's assassination. You guys are.
Yeah, very telling. Very telling.
It's like nobody said that. You
know
what they're hoping, Colin.
They're offering.
Colin, you know what they're hoping? They're hoping that this is going to be like JFK. Like for years, there's going to be two different theories. They're hoping it's going to age like that.
That's what they want, but I don't think that's going to be the case. We're never like the age of social one. There are way too many people involved in it now, and way too many people that care. But also, we're in the age of social media. Where there's information at the touch of a fingertips. We can basically track these people in real time if we want to, track in their planes. That's how we're able to find that her and Blake Wynn, were dating, because they were constantly showing up in the same cities every single time,
Right.
and when you're in that kind of information age, there is no hiding anything. It's going to come out, and it's going to come out sooner than later. You're not going to have it go for decades like it did with JFK or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And that's what she's hoping for, and that's not reality. And she needs to wake up to that, because I guarantee you, Tyler Robinson, if they don't kill him before the trial's over, Tyler Robinson is going to get off. He's going to be found not guilty. And then when he's found not guilty, then they're going to have to say, well, what next? What really happened? And there's going to be a lot of information. Hopefully, if the defense does their job, there's going to be a lot of information that comes out in that trial that proves that this was a larger conspiracy and there was a state-sponsored hit and Charlie was the victim of that, and there were more people involved. And then you have to look at who was involved and their behaviors and their motives. And then you will get to Erika, and then you'll have to see Erika's motives, and you'll see the life insurance policy and the faking the audio and the lying and everything else. You know, it all, you can't, and that's why people attack me sometimes, because they start to say the stuff I go after Erika for is petty and doesn't matter. No, it does matter.
No, the devil's in the detail.
Exactly. All the stuff that I am bringing, while it may not be particularly relevant to how Charlie Kirk was killed, it is particularly relevant to who, and to proving that when the time comes. If Erika Kirk ever goes to trial for killing her husband, which I believe she did, I mean, she didn't actually, I don't think she hit the remote and detonated the bomb on him or whatever, but, you know, she definitely had foreknowledge of it and knew it was going to happen, in my opinion. But, you know, if it ever comes down, hang on a second.
Okay.
Hang on a second. If it ever comes down to her going to trial, it's going to matter. The things that I'm discovering are going to matter, because it goes to her state of mind. If you're showing that she's a psychopath and that she is in the Epstein orbit and grooming children, that all matters. That's all part of the narrative. That's all part of the reason why. Her dating right away, immediately, dating Blake Wynn right after Charlie's murder, goes to the process that shows she's not really grieving. She never loved Charlie in the first place. It all goes to motive. All this stuff matters. People need to realize that. It matters significantly.
Yeah, when Columbo does it, it's fine. But when we do it, we're bastards. Any other detective show, any other detective show, like what was one of the big ones, CSI, or what was Criminal Minds? Anybody else, if it was anything else, they'd, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, this little bit, this little detail, it all matters. But just because we're applying it to Charlie's assassination, that's why it's not cool.
Exactly. Well, people need to get over that. And I don't care. You can attack me as much as you want. I don't care whether it's from their side, from our side. I don't give two shits. I don't care if Candace Owens turns on me, if Baron, I don't care who turns on me. I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep doing this because I know it's important and I know it matters and it will be relevant.
Yep.
We're in the middle.
Were we done? I think that's all we had to do. Oh, COVID. Now we got to get to the COVID one, right?
No, it bleeds in. Where are we? No, keep going.
25. We're about 30 seconds from the COVID. So yeah, we'll watch the whole thing, I guess.
Of history being made, and I find it so important for us to be able to be an added resource to you all, whether that's, you know, trying to make understanding of what's going on in this world, or how better you can, you know, serve the students, or how you can explain things better, or even just being a part of a room like this, finding like-minded educators that you can rally with when things get tough, and you're calling them being like, hey, the admin that I have right now is just awful. What did you figure out is a good way to balance XYZ? And so really what Charlie always wanted to create with these types of summits and these gatherings is so that people knew that they weren't alone. There's something really, really powerful and special in numbers and in community. And that was deeply broken during COVID, deeply broken. And I see this even so much to the point of even today.
She's going, by the way, she what we're getting into now is she's going to start blaming the distrust of the government, blaming the distrust of people on COVID.
Yep.
We have lost the bare bone basics of trust from human to human. There are people who trust a machine, an AI, more than they trust a person. It's just the way it is. If you go on the internet and you type in something and Grok says this is what it is, they're going to believe that's what it is because
Can I get
Grok
this
told
one?
them.
Can I get this one?
But Grok is not always correct. Grok is a machine and it gets fed what it is told. But a human, if you can't trust a human, that's a bare bones soul issue that needs to be worked out. And
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna wait a minute, hold on. Can you run that back a little bit?
Sure.
Hold on.
from human to human, there are people who trust a machine, an AI, more than they trust a person.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
That basically that translates to, hey, when we get a community note, that's not always accurate. That's them being like, so I know we screwed up last week and like we trolled the trollers and that was proven to be AI, but don't trust AI more than me. You know what I mean? It all goes in that circle. Everything she's saying, I see the subtext. And it's like, you know, AI is not honest, but we are, and don't be untrusting just because COVID happened like 6 years ago now. You know, don't let COVID make you not trust me, Colin.
Forget all these petty facts, man. Forget what the fact checkers say. Forget what the community notes say. Trust us. We're the ones that are right. Just because we say nuh-uh, yeah. When someone puts out a story with facts and witnesses that say I was dating Blake Wynn and I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, just because I say nuh-uh, go touch Doritos, and offer no facts at all to rebut that or to prove that that's not true, you gotta believe me. Why would you believe the evidence? Why would you believe Grok? Why wouldn't you believe the witnesses? No, just believe me. You're supposed to believe me, guys.
Yeah. That's what, yeah, everything, all that's what that translates to.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's also another point that is very telling is she's basically, in doing this, you talk about reading the subtext. Another thing she's saying here is people do not trust Turning Point on the surface. I mean, that's basically the whole crux of her argument, is that people do not trust them. She wouldn't be making this statement if people trusted them, if people trusted Turning Point. They do not have the people's trust. Nobody trusts them because they've been proven lying time and time again. They've been caught in their lies, both Blake, Andrew, Erika, all of them. They've been caught lying over and over and over and over and over again. And the people
lost
see
credibility.
it. They've lost all their credibility, and you know, she's admitting it. That's basically, she's admitting it right here. Nobody trusts us anymore. That's what she's saying.
Yep.
If you go on the internet and you type in something and Grok says this is what it is, they're going to believe that's what it is because Grok told them. But Grok is not always correct. Grok is a machine and it gets fed what it is told. But a human, if you can't trust a human, that's a bare bones soul issue that needs to be worked out in our country. And that
is gaslighting.
Oh, massive
if you can't
gaslighting.
Trust, even though I pose to be a huge Christian and I know we were all born in sin and evil, you always can trust a human. I mean, that goes against her whole thing. Like, everyone's evil. Everybody lies.
And you could also just swap out human with me. She means me. You know, you can trust me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's wild.
I see what she's doing. It sounds good, but
that's the thing with her. She's not good. She's not she's like a D-list actress. You know, she's on the surface she might look good, but once you look under the hood, you can really see the problems and stuff, you know?
Yeah, but everything else is Sharknado for.
Yep, exactly. All right. One more, like I said, let me just find. Oh wait, I think that was the last one. People are no longer trusting Turning Point, right? Oh no, wait, there's one more. Oh no,
Yeah,
the
but
Erika Kirk's origin story. That's the one.
or the
That was
nonprofit
the.
too.
Well, yeah, that's this one. That's what it is. Let me just pull it up. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, so in this clip here, and this is a short one, this won't take long, but in this clip, she's basically telling us the origin story of how she started her nonprofit, Everyday Heroes Like You, and the reason why she started it. And you guys can tell me whether you believe her or not.
When I was 16 and I was in high school, we were required to do community service hours in order to graduate. And I noticed that a lot of the students were unfortunately either forging those hours or just doing really easy things to just get the hours, and someone would just write off on the hours. I was like, that's so not Christ-like to be not actually doing what you're saying you're doing. So I decided to start my own little nonprofit and to be able to bring actual tangible moments of time to serve with organizations that actually needed the help. So there was really no money involved with it. It was more along the lines of like, hey, here's an organization that is a part of a dog shelter. They need dog walkers, and like connect those people so that there was other options rather than just going to, I don't know, the soup kitchen or something, which there's nothing wrong with the soup kitchen, but I'm just saying, like, give the students other options for them to.
She's insulting the homeless now.
I'm telling you, man, wild.
Yeah.
But so basically, her story is that she started her nonprofit to, well, the reason she started her nonprofit was because everybody else in school, she saw that they were faking their in school she had this requirement. We had to do a certain amount of community service in order to graduate. And she saw that all her schoolmates were all faking their community service hours. And she just thought, man, that is so wrong. That is not Christian like at all. How dare you? Because of that, I'm just going to do the exact opposite. And I'm going to start an organization because I want to help people even more. I want to do even more than just, I want to do even more than just community service. I want to start my own organization so I can do my own community service. And she tries to make it out like some big righteous thing, and she did it for the good, and for good, and to and
going
it's
against the
complete
grain.
bullshit. Yeah. The real story, and you can kind of read through the lines here. The real story to me is she saw that all her peers were faking community service hours, so she started this nonprofit so she could very easily do the same thing, because it's very easily, if you're using your own nonprofit as the community service, you can just sign off or have your mommy sign off on the paperwork that you did the community service when you really didn't. And maybe because she cared so much about popularity and social, being accepted socially, I wouldn't put it past her to have used that organization to then also get all her homies and fake their shit too. So when she talks about people faking their community service hours, she was probably the root cause of all of it. She probably started that and then had all her buddies using her nonprofit to fake their community service hours. And I will question her.
She has multi-purposes for that.
Yeah.
Multiple purposes.
And I tell you, I guarantee you there's a record of that somewhere. Somewhere down, she had to actually, there are paper records somewhere, or I don't know about paper, but computer. There's some kind of record where she had to write down where she did her community service at and where her little buddies did their community service at. And anybody in Arizona that knows about this or has access to those records, I would love to be able to prove that. I would love to be able to prove she's lying about this too, because I know in my heart, I know she's lying about it. And it really doesn't matter in the scheme of things, I will say it probably really doesn't matter. It's very petty, but this in particular is like, I just want to prove that she just lies about the most trivial, stupid shit for no reason, you know?
I know, yeah.
So if
Like
anybody has
yeah,
access, whatever, I forget what school she went to, but if anybody went to school with her, has access or knows about this or knows or has access to the records of where she did her alleged community service, or whether she was using her Everyday Heroes nonprofit as the community service, I want to hear from you. I want to know that. You could email me, projectconstitutionvideos@gmail.com, or just DM me on X. But I want to know that because I think she's lying, and I want to prove it.
Hey, can we watch? There's some good eye clips, Erika eye clips. Can we watch that last?
Yeah.
It's put it on. If you put on 5322, just put on 5322.
Gotcha.
This is where her eyes start doing that thing. That thing.
And what you're sharing, it gives you that moment of realizing, like, hey, I'm alive. I have this one life. I have this one moment to impact.
I see what you mean.
And it is tough, but I would much rather it be here on earth than in eternity. And I would much rather it be one of those moments where you can, you know that what you're doing is making an impact, even though might seem days that it's not, but it is. And heaven's watching. And what's more important is that you know that you're using your one life to impact others, but also for the kingdom. And you're using your one life to make such a difference, just like Charlie, because each and every one of you have your own legacy. Yes, we're under the banner of Turning Point USA. And yes, we have Charlie's legacy that we are all so deeply touched and impacted by, but you have your own also. And his is inspiring yours and your future children's. And I want to encourage you that, yes, it is tough, but someone's watching you that's being encouraged by your spirit. That could be your niece, that could be your nephew, that could be a student that is so quiet in your classroom that you really have no idea if they're paying attention or not, and they are. Ooh. And one day that kid might become the president. That kid might become, a Charlie Kirk, an entrepreneur in its own right. That don't, I know it's tough, but count it joyful.
Count it all joy.
Because it's showing that you are living in a time and a day and age that's intentionally not easy, because the devil knows that he's running out of time and this is his domain. And he would love nothing more than for you to retreat and to return to him your territory. And so I just ask you that you reclaim it and you continue to claim it. And yes, when it's tough, you contact someone here that you made friends with. You contact Huts. You contact me. I don't care. If you need just a pep in your step of something, but just know that what you're doing is so important. And it really is making a difference. And I am just so thankful to God for each and every one of you for understanding, again, life is short. Do what you can with what the Lord has blessed you with, because when it's all said and done and you do get to heaven, I want you guys to be able to say, God, I did everything I could with what you blessed me with, and there's nothing that I have left. I did it all. And I know that you guys will do that very well. And when you guys go back into your community and your spaces, and we've got your back, like I said before. So,
amen. Erika Kirk, thank you so much, Erika.
Erika Kirk.
She went back.
She in up for comedy routine.
I told you she got the eyes in there at the end.
Yep. Oh boy. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of her best interviews. Do you think it's the best yet? Like as far as composure and
Yeah, I mean, she's still a bad actress, and she's very unlikable. But she, as far as like not coming off totally like a total creep, total just
Yeah.
completely unnatural and weird. I think this was definitely her best episode of that. Like she actually came off somewhat normal in this episode for sure.
Yeah, she's getting there. She's getting there.
Yep.
But no, it was
Definitely.
interesting to see because whatever like she interjects in there, what little bits of information she inserts to kind of debunk things or and I also, what I think? I think that they intentionally like put information in there. So like when people take clips, it's like, no, see, I admitted to that. I admitted that I was in the pageant, Trump's pageant. You know what I mean? It's right here. We said it right here. So
Oh,
yeah,
exactly.
I think
Like,
they're
like
doing
I
that.
said, Blake Neff was the one that definitely was, wrote that speech for her. It was very scripted, and there were she was definitely seeding information in there. There were certain things that she was putting in there intentionally, 100% intentionally, because
Hey,
she wanted people to know.
how much you want to bet when she was going on about Groik? I think Blake Neff told her to say that. I think that somebody else told her to say that. Do you remember that? When she's saying if you
Yeah,
look up stuff on Groik, it could be wrong. I don't think she came up with that herself.
no, that was Blake. That's something that definitely pissed Blake
Yeah,
off
that's
is when they got community noted.
and
That's how you know Blake Neff wrote her
sometimes,
speech.
yeah, and sometimes Grok is wrong. Like that whole, he's got that little
Yep.
philosopher thing going on. But no, yeah, I was like, you didn't come up with that point. You didn't come up with that.
Oh, no way at all. Before we go real quick, I just want to thank, I got 2 donations here. Gloria donated $10. She didn't give a comment, but thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
Thank
Also,
you,
somebody anonymous donated $30 as well. So thank you very much as well. You're definitely, like I said, you guys' support means everything. So I appreciate it. They've been, I'm not monetized on YouTube, unfortunately. So I do rely on your guys' help, your donations to help pay the bills and keep things running. X is my only income, and they have attacked my income significantly on X. They've been using bots to mass report my posts and also unfollow me because they know how to gain the algorithm. They did an algorithm change to where it negatively they go by like a scoring system, like a point system, and every time somebody reports your post or unfollows you, that negatively affects your score. And if they mass report, they have a bunch of people do it, and then it affects it so much that it gets you taken out of the algorithm to where your posts don't get pushed out to anybody anymore. So therefore, obviously that hurts your money. If your posts don't get seen, then you make no money off of them. So they're trying to bankrupt us. But besides the threats and the cease and desist and trying to threaten us that way, they're also, and it's not just me. I mean, they're probably attacking me most. Me and Kenneth probably most anybody, but they're attacking everybody. They're attacking all of us. So it's not just me. This is tactics that they're doing on everybody. But just be aware of that. Be cognizant of that, because that's something that we're all going through, and it sucks.
it just means
But it
Colin's
won't
doing
work.
something right. You
It
must be
means I'm
doing
over
something
target.
right.
Absolutely. I'm that much of a threat to them. The fact that, and I, you could tell that because, like I said, I'm the only one that's gotten 3 cease and desist from them. I'm the only one that they constantly respond to. Even Erika Kirk. No, Erika Kirk responded to me with the Blake Wynn thing. She's never responded to anybody. She just happened to respond. That triggered her so much to respond to me. Why? Why didn't she respond to any of these other things that we've been asking for months? About Charlie's. Where's his body, for one? There's like, where's the microphone that he was wearing? Where's the audio for that? Where was it being live streamed at? How about showing the full video in its full context from the Aspen Donor Summit? There's all these things that they could have done and should answer and clarify, and they refuse to do it. But yet they're triggered by this stuff, and that's why I think a lot of people think that what I do is petty or whatever, but it's not, because it's very important, and that they realize that, because that's why they're attacking me. I'm right over the target,
I was going to say that.
I won't stop. Yeah, the thing is, I will not stop, though. I don't care. Like, you can take all my money away. You can demonetize me. I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep doing this. If you get my account banned, I'm going to start a new one, and I'm going to keep doing the same thing, because this is my mission in life. These people don't realize that. I don't care. You can bankrupt me. I don't care. None of this matters to me. This is my mission. I will not stop until we get justice for Charlie and the truth comes out. And I will not let up until that happens.
It's like I said, this is the JFK of our generation, but we don't want it to taper off like JFK did. We don't want it to go years without knowing anything.
No.
We don't want it to end like JFK. We want it, yeah. No.
No,
it can start that way, but it's not going to end that way.
Exactly. They will be held accountable, and it will be in a reasonable time frame. It will not be decades later when people are already dead and it doesn't matter anymore. No, these people will be held accountable in their lifetime. And I tell you what, even if they're not held legally accountable, we see it now. They're being held accountable in the court of public opinion. And that's probably matters more than anything else, because with Erika Kirk, she can't go anywhere without people calling her a pedophile protector and all this other stuff, and a groomer. And I want all of them. I want them to feel that. I want them to not be able to go to a restaurant without people calling them out for being liars and for disgracing Charlie's name. I want that for every single one of them. I feel bad for the kids, but at the same time, I want the parents, I want all of them to face what they've done. I want them to face the consequences of it.
You know what? You just brought up a point I never even thought about. The kids need to know the truth. They need to know the truth about their dad. And it's going to be one of those things, like Bobby Kennedy. I don't know if Trump ever did it, but Trump told RFK Jr. that, he would get the files to him. He would make sure that, all the JFK stuff would be cleared up and all of that. But do you remember that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think his kids deserve to know one day what really happened. They asked, why do we need to know? It's just like, she even talked about, I want my kids to be able to live in a world, but no, they need to know the truth about what happened to their father, regardless of what the truth is.
Exactly. I completely agree. Good to see you, Lynn. Yeah, like I said, they're definitely been shadow banished and stuff. So if you haven't seen me, that's why. But make sure you got your notifications on. That way, anytime I do go live or put out a video, you'll get notified.
Awesome.
Anyway,
well, that was fun.
So yeah, thank you for joining me. I think that was
of course,
good stream, a fun one too. We got to dunk on Erika a little bit, which is always fun. It's always a good day when we can dunk on Erika and watch her stand-up comedy routine. Yep. The only thing better than that would be like Tyler Boyer, especially for you. I know you really love dunking on Tyler Boyer, so.
Oh, no. All right, yeah.
You guys make sure, if you're not following her already, go follow her. She is Conservative KFC on X. Kelvia Campbell, great person. I like her. She's become a friend of mine, and definitely go follow her. She's got some cool stuff coming out.
Do you know why I'm called conservative? Do you know why I'm called Conservative KFC? Because people have been asking me.
No, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I tell people. So I'm a conservative from Kentucky, and it just so happens that my initials are KFC. Kelvia Faith Campbell. I am
Oh,
KFC.
ah. That's funny.
You got
That's
that
actually
now? Yeah.
that's actually really cool.
Well,
A lot of
of
people
course,
might think this way. You like KFC, but no, that's actually a lot more
yeah,
personal.
no, yeah, people try to like troll me on my name. I'm like, nah, man, that I'm KFC. That's me.
That's all right.
Yeah. But I cleared up for everybody.
That's right. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, so go follow her. She's awesome. Thank you for joining me. And we didn't get through everything today, but we got through most of it. Her and I might do something again in the future, go through some other stuff. I don't know. If not, we'll do another stream in the future, me and her or something else. I also, next week, just as a little preview, next week I'm probably going to be interviewing it's in the works. It's not in stone yet, but we've got a commitment, so we're going to set it up. But there's a former Turning Point employee that was fired basically because they got cancer, which is insane to me. But I will be interviewing that person next week.
And she was a friend of mine. Well. She was a friend of mine.
Yep. Kelvy is the one that introduced me here, got me the connection. And I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
So we're gonna help tell her story. So I think it's important to tell it, and I'm gonna help her tell it.
Yep. The more people, and like I said, guys, I'm just saying, I had an attorney look over the NDA, and it was pretty groundless. I'm just saying it was pretty weak. It was pretty weak. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of holes in that NDA from what I hear.
It's overly broad.
It's exactly overly broad. It's not enforceable.
Broad.
For the most part, it's not
basically
enforceable.
I want to encourage other people to come out, and give their testimony, obviously. But yeah, and the reason why I mentioned the NDA is because that's kind of what they subtly threaten you with. They always in the email, and don't forget, you signed an NDA when you came on board. So, hush, hush, hollyhock. But it's really about insider, like trader secrets. Like if you gave their secret recipe on how to win a gubernatorial race, you know what I mean? If it was like a inside trade secret. But if you're just giving your personal opinion and your own personal experience from working there, that's not illegal. You're not legally binded by that with that NDA. So just saying, public service announcement, Colin.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's important for people to know that if they want to speak out, and if you do want to speak out, I will help tell your story. I'll help get it out here because it's important. All of you that have been let go, wrongfully or not, you all have a, you have your your voice, your story deserves to be told, and I want to help you tell it. It's important to get out there. And another thing to pay attention to with the NDA is it also it cannot be enforced against anything criminal. So if you witness them in the organization do anything criminal, they cannot hold that NDA against you for whistleblowing and exposing criminality, things that they're doing that are criminal. That is another exemption. So
yeah,
if you want to speak out, I encourage you to. Kelvia, encourage you to. You can reach out to her if you don't want to talk to me first. You can talk to her, and she can kind of help you out where to go next. Like I said, conservative KFC on X. I'm sure she would be happy to talk to you. And she can put you in touch with me too. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want you all. If you're sitting on something, if there's something that might be germane to this investigation, I think please say something, and you can remain anonymous if you want to.
Yeah, that's the other thing is you know, we will, like, she can vouch for me. Like I said, if you want to contact her first, you can. You can. I mean, I've probably interviewed more former KFC. No, I'm saying KFC employees. I've interviewed more former KFC employees. No, now I've probably interviewed more former Turning Point employees than anybody else. You know, I think I've interviewed like six or seven of them so far. And there's some that you'll never know about because I've interviewed them and they haven't given me permission to release their interviews, and I won't, because that's how I am. I have integrity. You know, if I tell somebody I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. You know, and
And you
also that
told
same goes
me
with being
from
anonymous.
yeah, you told me. I mean, from what you told me, all the interviews you've done, you've seen a lot of consistency.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. You know, that's why, you know, this stuff. That's why I'm so adamant about a lot of things that I say, is because I've gotten the same things from multiple employees over all these interviews, which all point to the exact same things. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, definitely come forward,
right.
tell your story. It's important.
Yep. You can
You know,
message me. They can
Charlie
message me on
needs
X
you.
too. Yes.
Absolutely.
What would
And
Charlie
I guess
do?
we'll leave it there. Yep.
All
You know,
right.
he always asks
Everybody
questions.
have
He
a good
always seeks
night.
out. Yep.
Yep.
So
Everybody have a good night.
thank
Be
you again
safe.
for joining me.
Yep.
And I'll see you guys
See you
on the
around,
next one.
Colin.
Later, Gators.